Hello. All right. Another meeting. Here we go. We're not doing anything with boating. Don't worry about that. We do real estate, not boat stuff. Yeah. Okay. So I should say, by the way, do you have something to like write with? You might want to write down like ideas and stuff like that. It might be important.
I do not this time, no.
Okay. All right. That's okay. Let me give you something really quickly. Y'all at home might just have to skip forward like 30 seconds. I don't know. Do you also have any points you want to like raise or anything like that? Like, just anything you want? Okay. All right. That's cool.
Thank you.
There you go. Okay. All right. Another recommendation, because it is meaningful to say this, if you find anything for yourself that is meaningful or insightful or useful, think about your friends. We're not being taught financial literacy in this country. So you find stuff like that, that's good, okay? Think about your friends, because they definitely need it too.
Okay.
Okay, also, really quick shout out, again, if you find anything meaningful here, because it is meaningful. Charity shout out, there's 3 charities that are really good. Charity Water, Awesome Pets Alive, and World Central Kitchen. I cried at the video of Charity Water. These are really good people, so this is free information. If you guys make money from this, consider, please. Thank you. Okay. All right, first we're going to do a really quick market update, looking at what happened today, because some interesting things happened. So here's a SPY. This is, that's fine. We talked about Hikanashi last time. So what happened was, this day right here, that was Tuesday, today's Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday. Anyways, I was right though, Tuesday, all right. So what happened was that we got inflation data on Tuesday, and it was worse than what was like hoped for. It wasn't even like necessarily so bad. It was kind of bad. Like, there's general CPI, and then there's core CPI, which is apparently what the Fed really looks at. Core CPI was actually worse than general CPI. I can just kind of put it like that. Anyway, so point of being though, it was bad for the market. It was bad expectations. So we dropped like 4% on that day, and we've been doing that since. There is something of a loose thing that we can see here as far as a support line being violated pretty significantly on also a significant day. Quad witching has to do with expirations of options and stuff like that. Just sometimes it can be a significant day. Today we did see something quite significant. So to point this out, just so that you guys can more clearly see this, the line I'm going to talk about is this line right here. You can see that it acted as support. We've talked about this before, like, the ratio between how much a possible line of support or resistance is violated versus how much that it's affirmed or something like that. It's important to keep in mind that the wicks don't necessarily mean as much as the body's contradicting it. That's just something to keep in mind, maybe. So I can say that. For context here, when I say a body of a candle, you see this big, thick black, red part, right? That's the body of the candle. If it's red, the top of the body is where we started, and the end is where the bottom there is where we ended, right? And it's the reverse for green days, because we went up on those days, right? Started, ended. The wicks are simply which are these skinny little parts, are just simply where things went during the day. But so just to point this out, right, you can see support here, it happens here, it breaks out of this, and that's something you kind of keep in mind of, like, is this so much a contradiction, or is it when this finally is broken through, retested, right, comes back down, retests it, you see the body is right there on that line, and then continues breaking through these other, lines of support there, or sorry, resistance rather. Here again, here, even here, you can see this candle kind of outlining it, but look at where the body is, right, it's right around it. So that just kind of has an idea there. Technical analysis, it is real. Definitely actually like meaningful stuff, but it's stuff that you have to train and develop like a skill to be able to recognize these sorts of things, but it is very real. So we had a pretty massive contradiction of that, and you can even say that the day before was when that contradiction really happened, because it was all in the wake of that inflation data, but we just had this like gap away, just run away from it. So just market update, just say, hey, here's what's been happening. Right now, we're gonna go ahead and watch a video. So.
Wizard Larry Benedict is one of the few experts who accurately predicted.
Have you ever wished that you could spot a bubble in real time?
Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and just watch this video here. Let's see if we maybe can get into 5 or 6. Yeah. Okay. I might actually be able to summarize this. I'll link the full video in the description for the video, for this video. You know. Yeah. Okay. So I'll summarize a couple of points here. So the first point he has, the reason why this is meaningful to look at this video is because he looks at things that may very well go over people's heads, you know, that it's not so obvious. But he also misses some things that are really significant, in my opinion. But we'll converge the two to have more whole picture here, right? So the first part is average people get above average returns. What happened when COVID had bottomed in the stock market back in March of 2020, right? It started skyrocketing. And as the months went on, there was social media, on the news outlets, just everywhere, constantly talking about the stock market and constantly looking at these incredibly bullish actions and oh my gosh, this is amazing, you know? And everyone, point being really, everyone got into the stock market, everyone did. The same exact thing happened for 1929, same exact thing. From the butchers to the bakers, everyone was in on it, that's why everyone got fucked when that shit crashed. And this is in the context, and this is why it's meaningful to say this. This is in the context of valuations. We're in this massive bubble. We're going to look at that in a second, what that looks like. But massive bubble, arguably the largest in history. And so it is incredibly important in terms of incentive. Who owns the social media outlets and the general TV outlets, right? Media outlets there. People who are very wealthy. People who have a lot of connections. There is an incredible amount of incentive to try to push out ideas for the general people to get roped in on the stock market when it's at its height and have it blow off top, because it's the most exciting. It's when FOMO, fear of missing out, is at its highest, right? Ropes everyone in. There's a big trade-off. You buy high, we sell now. That's the strategy, and it works, and been working throughout history. So above average returns there. It's that's not normal, something is amiss. High degree of FOMO or euphoria, like I was just saying, right? Incredible amounts of, look at this blow off top, this is amazing, you have to get in now. Little to no institutional adoption. We'll see what he says here.
That's number 2. Number 3, little to no institutional adoption. If it's just a bunch of regular people, this is a massive red flag. So, ICOs, NFTs. Now, the example of the SPAC, the Special Purpose Acquisition Company, a lot of them were going public. This looked like institutional adoption of a new way for companies to go public. They were experiencing lots of gains every time one was formed. However, many times when companies go public, that is institutions offloading onto investors, onto retail people, onto average people. That's not the institution.
And to add something here that's very important. These last couple of years, we saw seriously, I couldn't emphasize enough the anomaly that it was about the amount of companies going public. There were so many. You look through history, it just skyrocketed incredibly. And that's a part of this picture again.
Institutions keeping that themselves. And so this is a big sign to watch out for. Are the big boys, the big money, the institutions investing in these things? Whether it's an ICO or a SPAC or an NFT or whatever it is, if it's not the big money investing in it and you're currently seeing there are lots of gains, that's a big sign that it's a bubble, because the big boys don't jump in when things are richly valued. They jump in when all the retail guys are licking their wounds because they just sold at massive losses.
And something to add here, right, because he doesn't exactly say this. How do you tell when the institutional investors are in there or not, right? You can look at the actual business itself and say, like, here, literally, like, who is, you can look at, I know there's gonna be resources out there that you can look at, like, who's buying these shares, you know, who owns the company, because that is public information. But at least, in the very least, you can say, right now in this context, is everyone talking about the stock market? Just simply look to the retailers. What are they doing? Same sort of message, but nuanced, and it's important to know that. Because chances are, if all these retailers are in on it, guess who's not? That sort of thing.
So that is the third sign to spot a bubble, little to no institutional adoption. Number 4 is a macro indicator, and this one is an easy money environment. So when interest rates are very low, when the money supply is growing very quickly, when money is being spent by the government hand over fist, taxes are low, it's an abundance environment where everybody feels rich, where everybody's spending a lot of money, where it's easy to borrow, cheap to borrow. These are easy money environments. It is ripe for fraud, ripe for people.
Yeah. And again, this is just connecting back simply to that we were talking about the federal funds rate, right? It had been plummeted, and that allowed people to get their hands on money much more easily.
People coming out saying, hey, this is the next big thing that is going to make a ton of people rich. And in those environments, bubbles form all over the place. And pretty much every single time in history where you see the biggest Ponzi schemes, the biggest frauds, those are on the backs of the easiest money environments. Because if it's not an easy money environment and money is tight and borrowing is expensive, those are the circumstances where people have to weigh things very carefully and say, hey, this is going to be expensive, so it's going to be a big risk for me, so I need to make sure I set the bar high so I get a real good return on my money here. And so you're not going to have all those investments in the money losers or the speculative things or the things that might win big or might lose big. You're going to have, by and large, a lot more people being very careful with their money, and there's less of a chance for those euphoric bubbles to form. And number 5, the movement in price is artificial or unsustainable given the supply and demand. So many times this can be difficult to determine the supply and demand of something, but one key indicator you're looking for is whether something can be infinite or not. And so a good example of this is the original bubble, the tulip bubble, how tulips skyrocketed in prices. There were new markets like futures markets created around tulips, but tulips are something that are theoretically infinite in supply because all you have to do is have a bunch of people start to plant them and grow them, which could instantly drop the price because at the end of the day, it always comes back down to supply and demand. A modern day example is something where this might be a little bit controversial, I don't know, but the price of diamonds, because diamonds, the supply is artificially constrained by one company that controls the supply, and they can be grown in labs, and so they're artificially high based on a constrained supply and a lack of people deciding to make them because of cultural bias towards getting them from the one place where the supply is being restricted from. But given all of the natural factors and the fact that diamonds have only been valuable for, like 60 years throughout history, they were never valuable before, they burn up in a fire. The supply and demand thing there is not as good as something like other actual gemstones that are rocks, precious metals like gold. And so that would be something where you can say, okay, the supply and demand, it's artificially created, it's unsustainable given the natural forces of history or chemistry or whatever it is. And then other things you can apply that to, like whether it's like, NFTs, actually infinite, right? Because you can have an infinite number of those JPEGs or an infinite number of those copies of that NFT or whatever it is. So you have to look at the supply and demand imbalances there to determine whether that move is either artificially created or unsustainable given the natural supply and demand that exists. And by the way, you can flip that on its head too and identify things that are extremely undervalued as well. So I hope that's helpful. And by the way, I have just a few days left on my first week launch.
Okay. You've heard enough. Thank you very much there. Heresy Financial is his name. It's a good channel. He says some contentious things, but it's fun now. So I'm right now trying to look for a something a little more like reputable, sort of the picture for what the tulip bubble looked like. But honestly, from what I can gather, it looks basically the same, more or less across the board, as the largest market bubble that existed after 1929, which was the dot-com bubble in the year 2000. And we can look at what that looks like right now. We go to, because it was primarily based in the tech sector. So let's go back here, and you can see right there. That was dot-com bubble. It's massive, right? And again, for context, right? Let's look out. Okay, what does it look like now? Right? There's something wrong going on, and this will become much more clear looking at this. This is the Warren Buffett indicator. So it has it right here, right? Total value of all publicly traded stocks divided by the GDP ratio. And in the year 2000, which again was large in 1929, we were at 140%. We got up to 200. We're now crashing out of that. Here's the Q ratio as well. There's another one, right? There's dot-com bubble again. Here's where we got. So across all of these, and also the Schiller P&E, last one here. Here's 1929, dot-com bubble. Here's where we got, right? So you want to say coalescing these together, using these together, you get a pretty solid picture that if we were not in the largest market bubble that had ever existed and getting out of that now, we were in like tantamount to basically the biggest ones, which is really just about humble, just hands down. So, which so good information here in this video, good perspectives, but have these specific resources in mind to be able to say, when are we starting to get into bubble territory, and at which point then should definitely thinking about over the next some couple of years or something like that. You have to figure it out for yourself what you're comfortable with, for your risk tolerance. Start deleveraging out of the things that you've been getting into. And we'll talk about leveraged ETFs and specifically, what that looks like. Pretty sure we've already done that, but that was probably a while ago, so I can probably do like a refresher course on that and what that looks like. But yeah, because those things can give just ridiculous gains. They did over the last 10 years. They've only existed for the last 10 years. They came out after the Great Financial Crisis. Okay. So there's that. And now to talk about this, there was one part, we talked about technical analysis last time. Let's go to these. So we talked about technical analysis last time, and there was one part that I had actually forgotten to bring in. And that was talking about Fibonacci retracements and extensions. These are significant, probably a little like, again, it's a hard thing to articulate because it's involving a lot of intuition and like a collection of all these hours and hours of knowledge that I've looked through. But I would say that Fibonacci retracements and extensions can sometimes be more significant than even looking at just a really obvious like horizontal, place of support or resistance. Point is though, it's a part of that picture, so just to go over those really quickly and how to use them. So first of all, extensions, Fibonacci extensions, which I can show you really quickly what those look like. So here's Fibonacci extension. Again, this is the platform Webull. Fibonacci extensions here. So what you would do, something like that, and then you trace it right back. Should be able to do that as it goes backwards. That's what that looks like. Don't worry about these. We're not even going to look at them. And the reason why is because Fibonacci extensions are used to say, okay, now maybe I should take gains or something like that. That is not, in general circumstances, not going to be something that is fruitful or even really relevant to you and what you would be trying to do. It's not something you should really be trying with. Fibonacci retracements are maybe a little more useful. And it's mainly about, here's maybe something of an idea that you can say a good area to start getting in. So we can go ahead and use the examples here, and I'll go ahead and draw this one again. This one right here. I'll just go ahead and draw that one again. So the point about a Fibonacci retracement, again, don't worry. I mean, same sort of principle really for an extension, but let's just talk about the retracement here, right? Is that you're looking at a consistent. Again, what exactly does that mean? I couldn't draw it out for you mathematically, but it's something that should be generally somewhat obvious, right? You can say that this run here is a bull market. This was a very short-lived, very, very short-lived bear market. Here's that too, you know. And again, this we're also looking at weeks, so it becomes even more obvious if we're looking at days here. Right, it should, you know. Pretty consistent, higher highs, higher lows. We talked about that last time, Dow theory, right? So what you do is, I'll just do it again, Fibonacci retracement. You start down at the very bottom. And this is for looking at a bull market, going from left to right. Same thing for a bear market, left to right. You start at the bottom, you end at the top, and the top should say there'll be a percentage there. It's not exact, I know. There's a percentage there, 0%, 100% down here, left to right, right? Start with 100, end with a 0. And what it'll show you in a bull market is the whole idea of a retracement, right? Is it'll be going up as a bull market and coming back down. It'll be checking itself. It'll have pullbacks and such. And these can be significant levels sometimes. For a bear market, same thing, left to right. I already drew it out here, over here. It's a little messy, but we're going to get rid of it. So same thing. You can see, all right, started here at the top, went all the way down to the bottom, and when this violates that, you'll have a new low, right? The whole point is that you move it along, if it keeps going down and down, right? But where might it come back up to? Just as an idea. Again, this is always going to be used in the context of like everything, other tools you have, just simply other tools you have, other major tools. Never used alone, but it's something to just simply be aware of. You may not use these, that's fine, but just be aware so that if someone ever references or you look at something in some trader that you're following is talking about these things, you can have an idea of what they're talking about. That's kind of really it for that. There was something that was kind of fun that I did want to show you guys. Oh wait, did I just do, yeah, I did. There's a lining up here. If we look at the last couple bull markets, right? So let me just draw this out really quickly. You will see things line up. And this is in the context of what we can look towards in terms of a final and true bottoming in this market. Historically speaking, the bubble that we were most similar to was the dot-com bubble. That lasted for a little over 2.5 years. The decline, again, at these sorts of heights is about 50%. That's probably what we can look out to. So I already have it drawn out here. About August in 2024, we may very well see this come all the way back down here, just based on history. Nothing's perfect, but looking at either or of how far is that crash, right? How much of the crash is, and also context as well, you have timing. So for example, and I've said this before, but that was a while ago, so I'll say it again really quickly. If you get to a period of like, hey, it's the middle of 2024 and it's only gone down by like 45% or something like that, right? Start pulling out. It's about time based on history. If it gets down to about like 60% and it's the beginning of 2024, start pulling out. It's about time. That sort of thing. They're not, they work together, that sort of thing, but you can exclude one for another if that sort of fits what is likely. And also, don't pull out all at once. Do it over time. It's context. I'm shorting the market right now. I'm going to make a lot of money from it. And the lining up that I was talking about, because this is all the way down here at the bottom of the Great Financial Crisis. And you can see some levels here that line up a bit. You can see this level right here, 50%, 78.6% here lining up, well the one below, above, and as well the one below. And in that sort of sense, it's just kind of funny that in terms of how far this could crash, we're not so much talking about this bull market, we're talking about the 10-year long bull market that we've been running through, which is one of the longest ones in history. Usually we have a bear market every single 6 years, but we had like a strong 10-year run. Anyways, So that's kind of it for this part. I'm now going to quickly transition over here to the board and write down a couple of things that are important. This is talking about side hustles. If you are interested in trying to be able to make money on the side, because it's a side hustle, right? Here are some options for you, and here are some resources you may find to be very valuable. I'm going to write them down really quickly, tell you the names of a couple websites. We'll look at a couple of different videos here. They're fun stuff. It's really actually funny. There's like this one worm farmer, for example, and there's a millionaire, and it's like, what the hell? Like how? How did that even happen? Here's that one. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So all right. So here. It's not. Is it? No. Okay. So if you just look that up, the rest of it's 25. Sorry, I messed it up a little bit. It's 25 websites. 25 websites. 25 websites to learn new skills for free. Resources. There's also sidehustlestack.co. Sidehustlestack.co. There's that one. Google Jobs. You guys want to learn coding? You know, is it something, right? I don't know. There's just a lot of resources out there. You want to learn something. And benefit. Learn anything. XYZ. XYZ. They'll teach you anything. Skillshare. And then I'll right over here. Skillshare. Okay. Yeah, that's it. So there's those things, and okay. There's a couple other websites talking about vending machines. Right, you want to talk about like a side hustle? There's this dude who's a millionaire now because he owned a couple of like vending machines. He started out and then like in a few years, COVID kind of helped too. But you can do that too. Hell, my mom's thinking about like owning some like vending machines and stuff. It's a thing you can do. Ideas. Owning a gas station or laundromat. Talk about that too. There's a video on YouTube we'll look at really quickly. This guy's a billionaire, an immigrant. He came from nothing, and yet. Now he's a billionaire, you know? So this. Gas stations. Alright, we'll look at this guy really. It's like a 3-minute video. Yeah, immigrant from India. Like, But yeah, bunch of things. Hey, you want to learn anything, literally. Anything, hyphen anything, specifically. .xyz, right? You can learn whatever the hell you want. Alright, so we'll just watch this guy really quickly.
August 23rd, 1983. I landed at JFK, not knowing where I'm going, other than just knowing there's an agreement. There's a better way to make the life better.
Singh's wife Kamaji shared his vision. While she worked as a nurse, Singh got his first job as a busboy.
Hardly spoke much of English. Learned everything there. I started my job at $4.15 an hour.
To make more money, Singh drove a taxi. Inspired by long lines he waited in at mechanic shops to get his cab fixed, Singh got the idea to open his own shop. In 1988, he began as an auto mechanic after buying a mobile station in downtown Manhattan. Singh's driving ambition fueled building of his second shop in Brooklyn a year later.
It wasn't about that. It was about taking it new day, a new opportunity, and you get up tomorrow.
At Marshall's, our buyers
Sorry about that.
Another great day in our life. Let's go make a difference and make today better than yesterday.
For Singh, building a business wasn't easy.
There's a time I felt that I was discriminated by who I was, what I looked like. But I never let that take me down.
Today, Singh runs a billion-dollar empire. Ola Oil employs 1,800 people at more than 250 sites, including gas stations, convenience stores, and a fuel distribution center.
Work hard. You'll get rewarded.
Singh and his wife are now reaping the rewards of 33 years of hard work. A magnificent mansion in Old Westbury, adorned with the finest furnishings and a collection of exquisite cars.
I do love cars.
While the Singhs enjoy the fruits of their labor, they say there's more to life than material things. That's why they found a way to give their wealth richer meaning.
I believe that God gave me a blessing to give, not get.
The Singh family created the Bola Charity Foundation to benefit people in need. Recently donated a $600,000 house to a disabled veteran in Selden.
We can all make this world a better place.
From the humble streets of India to the lush life on Long Island, Singh still works 7 days a week with passion and gratitude.
It's just an amazing life.
Virginia Hewitt, News 12, Long Island.
So there's a couple things that are really important, I think, to point out about how the guy was able to succeed. First of all, context, to start out. He was a taxi cab driver. The guy did not come from wealth. You know what I mean? So he was starting where we are. He started where we are, except actually we're even better off than he was, because guess what? We have a college education. So, right? But there's a couple different strategies that he pointed to that made him different from his competitors. He gave more to the people, more like food and variety, things that are like, you know, hey, this is actually a nice place. When you ever go to a gas station, it's like, you know they got cockroaches crawling around, right? The look of his gas stations, they're nice, right? He had cross promotions between his gas stations and the auto body, workshops, right, that he had to help people, repair the cars and stuff like that. That's a good strategy as well. And then there was something else that he did too that stuck out. Well, point is though, there are things that can separate you from the competition, that'll make you different, and will help you succeed in your ventures. So there's that. And then I wanted to show you as well. Here's some other ideas. Actually, I think I might have just thought of the thing I was trying to say. So he's a billionaire. I mean, that's just like freaking ridiculous, right? And the idea is that, if you can start small, you can get other, ventures involved. Real estate, he probably does invest in real estate, but we'll talk about real estate, the information on those cards that I hand out, right? Really, really easy place to start. And if you can put in 5 good years of thinking about side hustles, or what is the way that you make the most amount of money, and there are definitely ways out there, right? You can build more on top of that, and then it just becomes like you don't have to be a billionaire, but you can. I mean, hell, if you want to, and then donate it all to charity, please, for the love of God, do. But it can become extremely passive, and you're living very well, and you don't have to even stay in the United States because it's expensive. Go to another country where it's much cheaper and much nicer, like prettier, and it's like, hey, I retired at like 35, or if not earlier. Shit. Here's another resource really quickly for CNBC, blue collar millionaires, and there's just a bunch of these. Luxury transportation empire, concrete pourer. Let's see here. Cannabis container. I don't know. this roofing contractor, a tow trucker. You know, they do, like, there's things, again, like, it's not like they're special or like it's a lottery. Sometimes it can be a little bit about luck. But there are things that they do, certain strategies like the cross-reference, the cross-promotion, that's very good. It makes you stand out. It's nicer, more offers. So for your customers. So there's just a fuck ton of these. You can look through them all. They're like 5 minutes. Get some ideas about how to run a successful business. I don't know. You know, it's out there. Something to think about. And then the last thing that I wanted to say, and I'll make this really quickly, because it's so incredibly popular. I wanted to talk about the differences between affiliate marketing and dropshipping. So, let's see if I can get this over here. So affiliate marketing is where someone has, I probably don't need to spell, I'm just going to talk. Affiliate marketing is when someone else has a business out there and you go to them, hey, I'm pretty good on social media. Let me go ahead and promote your stuff, and I can get like a cut from your stuff, and it's just right. So you're marketing for them. Drop shipping is when you work with, if some company out there has warehouses, they store the stuff, they produce the stuff, they work for they work and take care of manufacturing product. And for you, you're also marketing it. But you're also marketing, likely, your own website. And there's more freedom involved in that, like being able to set the prices and being able to, have a very select, looking at like your website, you can have like, here are the specific products that I like and I want to show off, and do that on social media. You set the prices, that sort of thing. So that's just a quick difference of those things. Other than that, though, that's it. Thank you for coming today. God bless, hallelujah, and let's get rich, yeah? All right, see you next time.